Good morning, recruitment junkies. How are you? I've decided today to go for a mad, crazy hair day. I'm figuring I'm still managing to shave, and I'm wondering, is this the time to get blue hair? I've always wondered what it would be like. I've always wished I had the courage to have a totally crazy haircut. Maybe now's the time, although I think people would generally think I'm more mad and more crazy than I am already if I do that. So how did yesterday go? The flavor for yesterday, the theme for yesterday was picking the winners and losers, thinking about the organizations that you work with, that you don't work with, that you think are going to come out strongly out of this crisis. There's businesses that are really thriving in these situations, but there's also businesses that are struggling as well. And the good news about businesses that are struggling is that, especially if they're listed businesses, they are not going to like losing. They're not going to like the fact that they're not going to be hitting their number. And we've got to sort of think about, well, if they're going to have plans to win, to get back to where they want to be, then we can be part of that. And that's where the opportunity lies, is that yesterday we were really focusing about switching your mindset from being a recruiter where it's about pick up a job, fill a job, pick up a job, fill a job. And we love that. But also what we've got to be thinking about is, how do we engage with our clients at a business level? What are we doing to engage with them in a way that allows us to have business conversations? Because that's all there is left to have now. If your clients aren't recruiting and they're sort of knuckling down, what are their plans to win? What is their strategy within the organization to cut their cloth accordingly? So maybe cost reduction programs, operational efficiencies. Whilst there's going to be, there's I don't know, there must be 1 million people on furlough. What is certain is that the furlough is only a holding pattern. And what it's doing is buying organizations an opportunity of maybe 8 to 12 weeks to work out what is our business model going to be when we come out of lockdown. It will not be the same. In all likelihood, until we're at herd immunity, and I know there was a lot of controversy about that, but the brutal truth is that until enough of the population has had the virus and therefore can't get it or give it to anyone else, we are going to be in and out of lockdown for probably the next year. And so businesses are having to adjust to this new reality. They're having to adjust to a position where they're thinking, well, how do we not only work the business internally, but what is our delivery model? Physical restaurants are going to struggle finding that delivery model, but they may well be boosting their ability to deliver takeout. So then you think, well, Just Eat are going to do really well, Uber Eats are going to do really well, Deliveroo are going to do really well, and then you're going to get these restaurant kitchens that in effect don't have front of house, but may well just have a kitchen that is serving out the menus that they have on a day-to-day basis. So that's potentially a trend in the restaurant trade. Within construction, construction projects are still going on. And what is the way for those to still happen? The government, everyone's forgotten, has unleashed a massive infrastructure spending plan. And part of that is to drive the construction industry. So anyone connected with engineering, long-term contract accounting, or the subcontractors that are connected to that will be living off that government spending in the weeks and months ahead. So you can imagine engineering companies will do well. But dependent upon the depth of the recession, house builders may not do as well, because it may be people are less reluctant to buy houses. There's only so much you can do when mortgage rates or interest rates are at 0.25%. So we've got to be thinking about winners and losers. But what I'd like you to think about today is a couple of questions that you've got. What was great to see is that obviously some of the listeners yesterday really thought about the mapping your market section. I know Gareth commented that they did their market mapping exercise yesterday. Hopefully some of you did as well. But we've got to start taking this to the next level. So I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things. Now, let's say, for example, we pick an organization that we think is going to be a winner out of this. And what I'd like you to do is now start to think about the research that's what we're going to do before we call that client. So my recommendation is, first, you speak to 2 or 3 candidates that you know are working that organization. Now, these aren't calls to recruit those candidates, albeit we might open the call with, "Hi, how you doing? How are how's your career going?" "Oh, right, it's fine, great, fantastic." Just out of interest, how is it going at insert company? How do you think they're doing? What do you think they'll do well? What do you think they'll do badly? How do you think they're going to come out of the lockdown? Gather some market research about how that organization is doing. Now, what you might want to do is maybe make those calls to individuals at a higher level or a more senior level, because that's where that knowledge is going to reside. But it's about engaging in business conversations. Another way to do research would be to, any listed company, is go and look at their annual report. If you go online and you type in the company's name and investors or financial reports, what you will find is that is their annual report. And in their annual report, they tell you, this is what we are going to do. This is how we plan to succeed. Any listed organization, and you're working at the senior level, maybe with financial directors, CTO, read that annual report and give them a call and say, this is what your annual report said you were going to do. How is it going to change now? I wouldn't be surprised if listed companies started releasing special COVID-19 sort of strategies or reports to the stock market. Everything's gone very quiet at the moment, but they're going to have to start letting people know. We've already had some profit warnings, but what we need to be thinking about is that they'll be starting to think about, well, what is our plan to succeed? And those things will start to come out in the next few days. And again, those are opportunities, and in those to engage with clients to say, right, well, this is what you said's happening. What's your plan to succeed? Or you said this is your plan. How's that going to impact your need? One of the things we often forget as recruiters is that we're sitting here going, the job, bit like the guys in Toy Story, and they're going, the job, and we're just hoping a vacancy is going to drop from the sky. But remember, there's a hierarchy of where opportunities come from. So the overarching thing is the economic environment. Okay, what's the political and economic environment? What that then does, it relates to then the organization's strategy. What is the organization's strategy to live within that political and economic environment? What we then do is that once we get below the strategy, we then get into projects and change programs. And once we start getting into projects and change programs, that's where we start to see organizations think about, do we have enough people to do the work that's needed, and do we have the skills that are needed? Remember, at the lowest common denominator of recruitment, we can overcomplicate it all you want, but ultimately it's about the availability of resource and the capacity of the capability of resource. Do you have enough people to do the work that you need? Do you have the skills within the organization to execute what's needed? And so when you engage with clients now, that's all we're talking about is, do you have enough people to do the work? do the individuals in the team have the capability to do the work? If an organization's going from a physically based business to a digitally based business, well, I might be great at running a physical shop, but I probably can't run a digital shop. How are we? What's going to change within that makeup? Even when organizations implement a new accounting system, the skills that they need within those teams changes. Often, and it frustrates me that sometimes we get so caught up in the whirlwind that we lack the curiosity to really understand what's driving the recruitment that clients have. A lot of it is business as usual, but a lot of it is about the fact that they just don't have enough people to handle the workload, or they just don't have the skill sets in order to manage that workload. That's really what we've got to be thinking about. And so my message to you today is thinking about availability and capability of resource. When you're engaging with clients over the next sort of 24 hours, 48 hours, I'd encourage you to think about just what's your plan going to be? What's your plan to thrive? Your organization that you work for has a plan to thrive. Other organizations are working out theirs as well. And the great thing is once you start talking to your clients about their plan to thrive, so how are they going to survive post-lockdown? What are they going to do if there's more lockdowns? How are they going to change their business model? How do you think their industry will fare in an economic slowdown? Once we start talking to clients about that, we can then double back to go, well, do you have the skill sets within the business to handle those changes? Do you have enough resource? Oh, you've got too much resource. Right, okay. And we're engaging at a level that's just a little bit higher. These conversations are easier to have with people that you know already, naturally, because you've got a relationship. But it doesn't mean to say that you can't call new clients and say, hey, I understand that sort of these types of companies, A, B, and C, are doing X, Y, and Z. What's your plan to succeed? It will be a bit frosty, the first call, because they'll be going, why are you calling me with this? You're a recruiter, right? All you've got to say is, look, my goal is to build relationships with businesses and understand businesses before I try and recruit them. And I'm just curious. Like, as a business person, I'm curious. If they're doing this, what's your plan to match that? That's what we've got to try and think about on a day-to-day basis, because that's what competitors do. They watch each other. And so when you can share market intelligence between what you hear one organization's doing or another organization's doing, you become a knowledge hub, a nexus, as it were. So the goal today is to, as I said, to engage with clients about what is their plan to thrive. Do they have the skills within the business to execute those changes? Do they have enough resource to execute those changes? Because one thing is for certain, business as usual will change. And so how are they going to change? How are they planning to change? I think week 3 feels like everyone's worked out, right, we're here now. We're here. But what are we going to do to win? And people will be talking about winning, and they'll be working about what they do to win. So good luck. Remember, what are people's plans to win? How are they going to thrive? How are they going to adapt their business in order to succeed in the weeks and months ahead? So thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate you joining, especially the regulars that I can see. Please feel free to share the link with everybody. We're settling about 50 sort of live at the moment, which is okay, but we want to get it back up to over 100 that it was in the first few weeks. So please share the link with everybody. Please feel free to ping it on LinkedIn and social media and just say, this is where you want to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm making the effort to be here. You're making the effort to be here. So let's work hard to make sure that we build a community of recruiters that work through the challenging times together. See you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.